shitting me?
It's Paris, 1925. The Eiffel Tower is rusting. The government's broke, and one smooth-talking guy convinces the richest scrap metal dealers in France that the city's about to tear the whole damn thing down. And he doesn't just sell it once, he sells it twice. I'm Brett, and this is Are You Shitting Me? Something I learned while avoiding real responsibilities. So, today we're talking about one of the greatest con men in history, Victor Lustig, the man who literally sold the Eiffel Tower twice. Like, imagine convincing somebody to buy the White House or Mount Rushmore or even the Hollywood sign, not as a souvenir, but as a real estate deal. And Victor didn't just pull this off once. Nope. The guy had such a gift for bullshit that he made an entire career out of scamming the rich, charming the powerful, and staying one step ahead of the law. And honestly, part of me respects the hustle. The other part of me is terrified to ever buy concert tickets again on Craigslist. Victor Lustig was born in 1890 in what's now the Czech Republic, back then part of Austria-Hungary. He was smart, charming, fluent in multiple languages, and most importantly, he looked trustworthy. That's half the battle in being a con artist. Look the part. I guess he had that kind of face that said, "I went to Oxford," even though he definitely did not. He started out small, gambling, scams on cruise ships between Europe and America. He'd win people's money, lose just enough to seem legit, and make friends with the rich passengers. Classic long con energy. And somewhere along the way, he realized rich people aren't necessarily smart. They're just used to being the ones doing the scamming. Still true today. You ever meet someone who's so confident they can sell you anything? Confidence is currency. Victor Lustig had a bank vault full of it. So back to Paris. The Eiffel Tower's been up for about 36 years. It was built for the 1889 World's Fair and, fun fact, it was originally supposed to be temporary. The plan was to take it down after 20 years, but people kind of liked it, so it stayed. But by the 1920s, the tower was in rough shape, rusting, expensive to maintain, and a pain for the French government to keep up. Newspapers at the time even questioned whether it should be torn down. Victor saw that, and he thought, cha-ching! He forged official documents, rented a luxury hotel suite, and invited 6 of the city's biggest scrap metal dealers to a top-secret government meeting. He told them the French government had decided, confidentially, to sell the Eiffel Tower for scrap. It was too costly to maintain, and they wanted a quick, quiet deal before the public found out. Now, think about that pitch for a second. It's insane. But it was plausible enough for 1925. There wasn't Google, no press releases, no way to fact check in 5 seconds. If a guy showed up with a suit and looked official and had official-looking documents and said the government's selling the Eiffel Tower, who's going to call bullshit first? Victor played the part perfectly. Government official, discreet, charming. He told them the deal had to be hush-hush to avoid public outrage. He even toured the Eiffel Tower with the scrap dealers, pretending to inspect it with them. And one guy, Andre, took the bait. He was desperate to climb the social ladder, wanted to be seen as a big player. So when Lustig told him he needed to pay a small bribe to secure the contract, Andre paid up. Big time. Victor took the money, boarded a train to Vienna, and vanished. Now here's where it gets crazier. Andre never reported it. He was too embarrassed to admit that he'd been scammed, which means Lustig got away with it clean. So what does he do next? Well, if you guessed lay low and thank his lucky stars, you'd be wrong. Because Victor thought, let's do it again. A few months later, Lustig returned to Paris and ran the same scam again. New hotel, new fake documents, and a new group of scrap dealers. This time, though, one of them got suspicious and called the cops. Lustig caught wind and fled before they could arrest him. So technically he sold the Eiffel Tower once and almost sold it again. But The man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice just sounds better on a resume of chaos. The Eiffel Tower wasn't even Lustig's biggest or wildest scheme. He also invented something called the money box. He claimed it was a machine that could print real money using chemical reactions to duplicate the bills. He'd load it with a couple of real banknotes and the machine would print a duplicate after a few hours. Of course, he secretly loaded the second bill way in advance. He sold these boxes for tens of thousands of dollars. By the time the buyers realized it didn't actually work, Lustig was long gone. And honestly, this guy could probably have sold air conditioners to Eskimos. No offense to Eskimos. But the real cherry on top, he once scammed Al Capone. Yeah, that Al Capone. Lustig convinced Capone to invest $50,000 in a fake business venture. He held on to the money for 2 months, then came back to Capone saying the deal had fallen through, but returned the full $50,000. Capone, impressed by Lustig's honesty, gave him a $5,000 reward. That was the con. He tricked Capone by pretending not to con him. That's a Jedi-level mind trick. Like, imagine being so smooth that you scam a mob boss and live to tell about it. Meanwhile, I can't even ask for extra ranch at the restaurant without apologizing. Eventually, though, Victor ran out of luck. He kept working scams across the U.S. during the Depression until the Secret Service caught up with him in 1935. Turns out he'd been counterfeiting money. A lot of money. When they searched his hotel room, they found plates for printing fake $5 bills. Millions of them had already circulated. He was sentenced to 20 years at Alcatraz, where he reportedly became friends with Al Capone. You can't make this shit up. Victor Lustig died in prison in 1947, but left behind one of the wildest legacies of deception ever. You know, every time I read about guys like Victor Lustig, I realize I've fallen for smaller cons a dozen times. Like signing up for the free trial that definitely charges the card after 7 days, or believing the airline when they say, your flight will depart on time. I guess we're all just getting Eiffel Towered in our own little way. So yeah, Victor Lustig, the man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice, he was smart, charming, and completely full of it, which describes about half the people on social media. He proved that confidence and a good story can sell just about anything, even one of the most famous landmarks on Earth. And next time someone tries to sell you something that sounds too good to be true, remember Victor and ask yourself, are you shitting me? Thanks for listening. I'm Brett. And this was Are You Shitting Me? Something I Learned. If you like this episode, hit follow, leave a review, and tell your friends I just saved them from buying the Eiffel Tower on Facebook Marketplace. Is it still available? Until next time, stay skeptical, stay weird, and don't fall for anyone who says they're selling it for a friend.